Hey everybody, it's Erica again with Northern Simple Living. It's another hot, sweaty day over here, and I wanted to give you a quick update as to what we had going on our homestead this week. Thanks for watching. So this week I trimmed back some of the zucchini leaves. I realized that our honeybees were having a difficult time getting into some of the flowers to pollinate them, and we were getting some of these little tiny zucchini, this guy down here, that never actually got any bigger than this and then started to rot, and that happens when the pollination is incomplete. So we trimmed back a good deal of our squash leaves here and are hopeful that the bees will now be able to pollinate them a little bit better. We also found evidence of my arch nemesis for the month of July, the squash beetle. These little guys will completely destroy your squash plants. Every time I see one, I make sure to snatch it up and squish it. Always use a glove because they stink really bad when you smash them. And I try to do it rather fast because they fly. I hate these things. Squash beetle. Dead squash beetle. Gross. They lay these tiny glossy brown eggs on the underside of the squash leaves. The babies hatch. They mate, they make more babies, and they eat your entire plant and everything on it from the bottom up. Like it completely rots. I never put these into my compost because they could hatch, and then we would have even more squash beetle babies in our garden soil. So these always go directly into the chicken coop, and they actually really like to eat them. Chick, 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 chick. Thanks, chickens. The cantaloupe and our winter squash are doing a really nice job of vining up over the top of this trellis system. You can see there's still some space down here that I can barely crawl through. So I'm not sure how effective this strategy is, but it's beautiful anyway. The cucumber plants over here have started to go pretty wild and crazy and get kind of bushy and lots of flowers on them, so that's exciting. Some baby cucumbers growing. This week some of our tomatoes started to fruit. We have also been pruning them a little bit, which basically involves pulling off these little guys right here. They're called suckers. They grow up right in between the crook where it sort of forms an L shape here. They don't really do anything. They don't fruit. They just take nutrients from the rest of the plant. And so we take these guys and sort of snap them right off. And it sort of leaves that little area there of the tomato, but it allows the tomato plant to direct more energy to providing and producing fruit. This past week we also staked up our tomatoes. We used a couple of different methods. Have a few cages left over, so we put some into some tomato cages, and then we also had this PVC pipe that was left over from when we built the greenhouse, and we're kind of using those as stakes for the tomatoes to grow up on. It seems to be working out pretty nicely so far. I think I may have forgotten to show this bed in our last video. This is the one that we grew all of our garlic in earlier in the season, and while the garlic was growing we interplanted some tomatoes in there. And then we also added a couple of hot pepper plants. And those are just starting to get some fruit. They're not looking so great, but we'll see. And I still have a ton of broccoli leaves and stems left to process. It's been so hot, it's been really difficult to get out here and do it all in the morning and water without them wilting. So, haven't quite got to that yet. Carrots are big and bushy and beautiful and doing exactly what they're supposed to be doing. Got our cherry bomb peppers, gotten a little bit bigger this week. And my bell peppers are looking quite a bit better than they were last week as well. Swiss chard is huge, and my lettuce is pretty much dead. It's bolting, so I went ahead and I planted another flat, which is sitting in the greenhouse, and as soon as that gets a little bit bigger, we will plant that out here as well in place of these. My peas are dying. I really don't like all of this heat, but the green beans and the calypso beans are going crazy. There are a ton of beans on here and some little tiny baby ones. And if you look on the underside, I have a lot to pick. Looking forward to making some pickled green beans. Our family really enjoys those, especially in the wintertime. So. And then this week I also did what's known as spooning my onions, which basically involves taking the soil from around the onion bulb and removing it so that the bulb can grow a little bit easier and better. And the roots are still in the ground. You can see it's kind of wobbly but not falling over. And then we also trimmed the tops down so that the plant will direct its energy into making larger bulbs for us. And I took a lot of the onion greens and actually chopped them up real small and froze them. Last time I did this cutting, I made some onion powder with the dehydrated greens, and that turned out pretty good too. Our pie pumpkins are doing really nicely. They're starting to vine out for us here. They like to try to attach themselves to other plants, and sometimes they even choke them out. So to kind of get in there and redirect this guy in a way I want him to go. Let's see, maybe that one there a little bit better. So I was hoping to be able to dry and braid this garlic this week, but I think that these probably need just one more week. They're still a little bit too flexible. I don't think they're quite cured or dried enough. So we're going to give that another week before we go ahead and braid those together. Look at all that poop. Yuck. So this is the feeder that we made for our meat chickens. It's a piece about 4 feet long of 3-inch PVC, and then it has 3-inch caps on either side. And we just took a saw and sliced off the top there, and then sanded it up a little bit so it wouldn't be too sharp. And when they were babies, we didn't have these wood blocks on the bottom. Now that they're a lot bigger and a lot lazier, we went ahead and screwed some of these wood blocks on, which forces them to stand up to eat. It holds about 25 pounds of feed, and we go ahead and fill this up a couple of times a day for our 35 birds, and they go crazy for it. This design is kind of cool too. It's curved at the top, so it's not completely flat, and that really cuts down on any food waste that we might have had if we had a flat feeder. It sort of holds everything in and doesn't really allow them to spill. Happy chickens! It's been so hot this week that we have actually been putting a fan, a box fan, on these birds to kind of cool them off a little bit. I think it's in the 90s in the shade today. And I think I hear some thunder, so hopefully we're in for a little bit of rain. Oh, look, I think we're gonna get some rain. I'm so excited. It's so hot here. And here we are playing the game of, are we gonna beat the rain to get the laundry in off the line once again? Just barely made it! Yay! If you enjoy our content and would like to see more, please don't forget to subscribe below. Thanks for watching and have a great week.